Hello everybody, Elias here again. I had some scriptures here. Had something on my mind here. The subject would be love, right? You know how we've been told pretty much all our church lives, all our Christian lives, right? We were told what Israel was told. Because Christ said in Mark 12, verse 29 through 31, he told them that really the first commandment is this: Hear, O Israel, the Lord your God, the Lord is one, and you will love the Lord your God with all your heart, your strength, your mind, and you will love your neighbor as yourself. So, under the commands of Moses, the Lord left specific instructions on how to love their neighbors. And they were to obey every rule, every law, everything. And if they failed to, they've broken their command, pretty much. If we were to try it that way ourselves, we'd be guilty of being a lawbreaker. And, we can't claim any righteousness that way, obviously. So, we were pretty much told the same thing in the Christian church today. They repeat this sometimes to each other. Well, you got to love the Lord with all your heart, with all your mind, with all your strength, with all your soul. And they don't stop to think what that entails. That would entail 24/7 loving the Lord with all your heart and all your mind, without ever being distracted, without ever having an off day. If you even momentarily get frustrated, or if you get distracted, or if you love somebody else, well, you've broken this command. If you want to do it that way, if you want to try to keep this by the law, then you drop the ball, and you constantly drop the ball, and you're a lawbreaker. So now, let's run this through the gospel now, and see what happens. Because we need more information, obviously. Because no human being has ever succeeded in loving the Lord God that way. So where does this love come from anyway? Does it come from us, when we're supposed to love the Lord our God? So he's telling that to us in Mark. We're told in John 13:35, by this shall all men know that you are my disciples, that you have love one for another. So naturally we think, okay, we got to love one another to prove that we are Christ's disciples. But still we need more information about love. What is love? First of all, what is love? Okay, dig a little deeper. Let's try 1 John chapter 4, verse 7 and 8. Beloved, let us love one another, for love is of God. Oh, hold up here. For love is of God. So that love is not of us, it is of God. Right? I'm reading out of 1 John chapter 4, verse 7 and 8. Right? Beloved, let us love one another, for love is of God. And everyone that loves is born of God and knows Him. Right? Since love is of God, and that's the love operating in us, then he's saying here, That's the one you know that was born of God and knows him. Continue in verse 8. He that does not love, or does not have the love of God in him, is not born of God. For God is love. Right? So now we have established what love is. And where does it come from? When seeing that we're commanded to do it, and Christ himself also commanded us to love one another, we better know what love is all about, right? Would make sense. God is love, and the love of God flows from him. You know, so for us to demand of ourselves or demand of somebody else, why don't you love God more? Why don't you love one another more? Well, it's like they're saying that this love is going to come from me. And if I don't show that love, then God is not going to be happy with me. If you look at what Christ said, John 14:15. This is what Christ said. If you love me, keep my commandments. Now, he didn't say what he didn't say in that verse. Keep my commandments, and that's how you'll prove to me that you love me. That's not what he didn't. He did not say that, right? He said, if you love me, the obvious natural result will be that you'll keep my commandments. And you'll see that they're not grievous. He didn't say, because they are not grievous. Because to the one that does not have the love of God in them, his commandments just might be grievous. Because they don't have the love of God in them, perfecting them. So, to the carnal man, to the one that does not have the love of God in them, the commands of Christ just may seem grievous. But what we were told is, you know, if we love Christ, we will keep his commands. If the love of Christ is in us, we're going to naturally keep his commands, and his commands are not going to seem grievous to us. Make sense? I mean, think about it. When you, husbands or wives, even boyfriends and girlfriends, when you have feelings of love one for another, or even mothers and their children, when you have love for somebody, is anything grievous that you do for them? There's nothing grievous about it. It's a pleasure to serve them. It's a pleasure to do things for them. It's easy to do things. You like to do things for them because you love them. So the one that loves Christ is not, you know, not in the background over there clenching his fists and with a scowl on his face. All right, I guess I'll keep your commandments, Lord. They're really a pain, but I'll try. No. I mean, that's not the love of God. That person is just under law. He doesn't yet get it. He doesn't have that revelation of the love of God enough to walk in it. So it seems grievous. Seems like something he has to press into in his flesh and try real hard to do. And it doesn't come natural. In fact, it seems like he has to fight himself to do it. I mean, didn't the Lord say way back when? That the carnal mind is enmity towards God. It is not subject to the law of God. Neither indeed can be. And the flesh wars against the spirit, and the spirit wars against the flesh. Can two walk unless they agree? The carnal mind will never be in agreement with the Spirit of God. Never. Therefore, we have to walk with God in the Spirit, for God is Spirit, and we must worship Him in spirit and in truth. We can't worship Him in flesh, because that would not be truth. So, the love of God is in us then to obey His commands. And that's the only way we're going to do it. And a lot of Christians got it backwards. They think that the Lord is demanding of them obedience in return for His love. And that, my friends, is a lie. No. The Lord has already said, I love you. For God so loved the world that He gave His only begotten Son, that whosoever would believe would receive. That means anybody is ready to believe Him and receive Him with all their heart and take what He's offering, he will be accepted, he or she, immediately. The grace is offered and extended to the whole world. Grace is in the world. Offered. And if one won't receive it, then we have to pray for them, because there's only one thing left for them, judgment. But we don't want that. We're offering them good news that it doesn't have to be that way for them. The Lord is not here to judge them now. The Lord is here to tell them about how He sent His Son, and because He loved them. I mean, He's already extended His hand in friendship. All we have to do is take it. And because He loved us first, we can now do so much more than when we were trying to keep it by law. Right? Now we can walk in the power of grace, in the true liberty of the gospel. Because we not only know that He loved us, but then we start to experience it. We start to see how He is loving us. And if you want to see an indication of that, if you want to start to get an inkling, read 1 Corinthians 13. Because everything He's telling us to do in 1 Corinthians 13, He Himself is the same way with us. And read that list very carefully. You might be surprised. Because you're looking at how God really is. Okay? When you read 1 Corinthians 13, which is frequently known as the love chapter. But remember, what He is instructing us to do, He Himself is already doing. That's the way He is with His children. And I suggest you go read it again. Read it for yourself. 1 Corinthians 13. And these other verses also. Mark 12, verse 29 through 31. John chapter 13, verse 35. John chapter 14, verse 15. 1 John chapter 4, verse 7 and 8. 1 John chapter 5, verse 3. And read it carefully. And there's so much more. We can go on and on about this. But the heart of the matter is this. True love is, God is love, and true love comes from God. Okay? And that's the love that the Lord keeps talking about, godly love in us. And if we believe, that same godly love can be in us. And that's what we will operate out of. And that's what the game changer is going to make a whole difference. So, everybody, you be blessed, and may the Lord keep reveal all these things more and more daily to you. And we'll talk again soon. Goodbye.